Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with TechBut Solutions. So I have pretty exciting news. I'm actually in the process of closing my 10th investment property, and I did this one a little bit differently. So for those that aren't familiar with wholesaling, I hope that after this video, with my experience and my understanding, I'm not a professional in this, I bought a house from a wholesaler, and I'm going to explain to you exactly why and exactly how, if you've ever been interested in learning more about that wholesale process. First of all, I'm not a wholesaler myself. I'm actually one of the real estate investors in this part. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, and be sure to drop a thumbs up if you do. All right, so this all happened yesterday, and it was Friday. I made a little bit over $1,000 profit day from the stock market. It was a great start to Fridays. And I'm having breakfast with the team at Joe's Farm Grill, which is like one of the number one, whatever. It's a good breakfast place. Eating my Joe's Big Breakfast, and I get this message from Nick Palladino. A picture should pop up right here. My friend is an Instagram model, and he's actually a model for guests as well. I love calling him out for that because yeah, he makes me feel super ugly. But altogether, he messages me. Nick has been getting a little bit more involved when it comes down to real estate investing, and he got in contact with a wholesaler. So pretty much this wholesaler contacted Nick, said that he just got a house under contract, and if Nick was interested in buying it. He sent that information over to Lenny. Lenny's been the real estate investor that I've been working with. Lenny's one of the #1 real estate agents in Arizona. We have a team now. I just noticed it. That's kind of a team. We got Nick, we got the wholesaler, we got Lenny, and we got me. I'll explain my part in a little bit. But yeah, Nick wanted to verify that it was a good deal. Again, Nick is in Los Angeles. We're in Arizona. This house is in Arizona. And Lenny is super familiar with that area. It's actually very close to where he lives. And he right away messages me as Nick is messaging me. Nick sends me over the deal as well. It's like, yo, bro, like, we found this really good deal. He's asking $230,000. Lenny says it's worth $270,000 easy. So to me, I'm just like, dude, there's a $40,000 margin of profit. And this would be my first time not just being a hard money lender for a deal and making interest off of it, but where I would actually be part of the whole flip process. So this is why I'm so excited, because Lenny's like, dude, if you don't buy this house right now, I will. But the reason that I got put into the conversation is because this individual supposedly follows me that is wholesaling the house. So he thought maybe I had a little bit more leverage for negotiating. Altogether, I've spoken to this wholesaler before. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's had a great deal before. And I tried to shoot him an offer, and it ended up selling right away. So I never uploaded that video. But he knows what he's doing based off my conversations with him. And again, super cool just to see that, you know, we were connected. Altogether, I shot him an offer. He's asking $230,000. He literally just got that house under contract, meaning that he literally just got the house under contract, so therefore he's trying to find a buyer for it. I offered $225,000, and then we met in the middle. So $227,500 is what we got this house in contract for. What that leaves us with is about $42,500 of a margin of potential profit when it comes down to selling the house later on. The really cool thing about this is, if you've ever done a wholesale deal, this is actually a 2-week close. So because he got that house under contract yesterday, which was Friday, it actually closes early November. One of the things that you guys should also know when it comes down to wholesale deals, since they close so early, you normally can't go through a traditional loan process. This is where I would usually come in, and if Lenny gets in contact with a wholesaler that provided him a really good deal, Lenny will then reach out to me, ask me if I want to fund the project, making me the hard money lender. I put up the money, I make interest off of it, and Lenny takes on the risk of the whole house, making sure that, you know, the margin of profit is worth it for him, and then he starts that whole rehab process. So the reason that this is so exciting for me is this is my first official flip, and I'm so lucky and so blessed to be able to share this with Lenny, who's one of the top real estate agents in Arizona, and with Nick, who's a great friend of mine, that if it wasn't for him, I would not have found this deal. So we're actually going to be doing a 50-50 split on this, meaning that he puts up 50% of the $227,000, and we take on this rehab or this overall flip 50-50. So altogether, I'm really excited about that. One of the things that I also do want to talk about is how do you buy a house through wholesaling? This was my first time, and I want to give a huge shout out to Lenny. If it wasn't for Lenny, I don't know if I would feel super comfortable with this whole thing because it's not normal. So first, let me explain what a wholesaler is in the best way I can. So again, I'm not a professional in this, but pretty much this individual, right, this wholesaler is not a real estate agent. What he does is there's a lot of door knocking, there's a lot of different ways to get leads. But this individual got in contact with this homeowner that now wants to sell the house. As you guys can see here, he got that house under contract for $215,000. Now, as a wholesaler, you normally want to build a list of contacts, right, of real estate investors or real estate agents to try to get that house sold as soon as possible because you only have 2 weeks to close that house. So what happens is he reaches out to all his real estate investors, and the first one to buy, if they verify that it's a good deal, will then buy the house. But this is where he makes his margin. Again, he was asking $230,000, but he got the house under contract for $215,000. So therefore, he had a $15,000 margin of profit to work with while just getting started. I ended up closing the house for $227,000. So that means that he made $12,500. As you guys can see in the contract that we have right here. A lot of people are sometimes upset dealing with wholesalers because they think that they make too much money off of the deal, yet they didn't risk anything. I think at the end of the day, it's all about a complementing partnership, and value was provided. In some form of way, we would have not found this deal if it wasn't for this wholesaler. A lot of these wholesalers do a lot of door knocking, and whatever it is that they do to get that lead comes at a value and of course comes at a price. And if you're someone that's willing to pay for it, then great. I think that you might work well with the wholesaler. If you're someone that's not willing to pay for it because you don't appreciate the work, then guess what? Move on, and you don't have to buy the house with them. But altogether, I think it's an interesting way on how to make money. I know a lot of you guys have been watching my videos when it comes down to these real estate investment properties, but maybe don't have the capital right now to get started. I think that, if you have the time and if you have the work ethic, I'm not saying that it's easy. Based off of my understanding, it is a lot of hard work. But I think this is a perfect example that although I'm buying this house and I made this guy $12,500 profit in literally hours because he got the house under contract that same day. I think he told me he got the house under contract 3 hours before I decided to close on it. And it's so amazing to see someone so young and absolutely killing it in that market and having a good working system. And I think that's what it's all about. Finding this working system that works well for you. There's not one perfect working system for everyone, but it's the idea and that concept that he learned that now he's branching off into his own business where he gets people like me that he makes money off of, but again, that I appreciate his service and I would like to continue to work with him as long as the value continues to be provided. It's that simple, right? So now that I agreed to buy the house, pretty much how it works is I actually wanted to share with you the whole process. So now that you understand that he got the house under contract for $215,000, I bought it from him for $227,000. All he actually did was he wrote up a contract that house was going to close on November 4th. He actually only set up an earnest money deposit of $100. So the risk that he has on the table is $100, meaning that if he can't find an actual real estate investor to buy this house within 2 weeks, then he loses those $100. But because he has this house under contract, his job is just to simply find a real estate investor that's willing to pay more than what he paid on this house, therefore making him his money. Again, we all eat, right? So this part was a little bit different for me as I've never directly worked with a wholesaler. So what ended up happening was he sent me this contract where it explains to me how much he bought it for and got it under contract and how much I'm going to be paying and then his part and then when it needs to close. So altogether that was clearly disclosed. Now the next step was I actually had to get in contact with his title agency that he's partnered with. I'm sure he's not affiliated, he probably just gets a small cut, but altogether this title company I got in contact with to set up the earnest money deposit. It was only $2,500, which is pretty normal. 25 around 5,000 normally for these like $200,000 to $300,000 homes. So that was pretty normal. I got in contact with this title agency. I wired the $2,500 and that was really just it. We get the house under contract and then that 2-week close begins. But yeah, that was my experience when it came down to buying a property off of a wholesaler. This is again my 10th investment property. Truly thankful, truly blessed. I want to give a huge shout out to Lenny. I'm actually seeing him today. We're going to his Halloween party. So the Tech Buds and the Whiskey Boys are taking over at Lenny's house. But yeah, so I also want to give a huge shout out to Nick and the wholesaler. We would not be able to be closing this deal. And one of the things that I realized is as I'm making this video is it's so amazing to have different people within my friend group that are so like well versed in what they're doing. Nick, proactively looking for deals, got in contact with this wholesaler, and because of Nick and how he sent over this deal to both Lenny and I, Lenny, as a true professional and one of the top real estate agents in Arizona, was able to quickly verify the deal, ensuring us that there is margin of profit to be made on this wholesale deal. With that being said, that's where I come in. I put up the money, we buy the house cash, and then we start the whole rehab process to flip the home. So altogether, super excited. I really hope that I earned your thumbs up for this video, and I wanted to provide both sides because I know not everyone has the amount of that you might need when it comes down to buying these houses and doing these full rehabs. So I think it's interesting. If you do have the time and you do have the work ethic, I think wholesaling can be something worthwhile if you actually create a working system. I actually want to give a huge shout out to my friend Ryan the pilot. I don't want to say his last name, but absolutely, he's been killing it with wholesaling as well, and I've recently saw him get into a couple of these deals. I think he has one other guy that he's working with, and I've seen him close deals of $5,000, $6,000 of like, that's his margin of profit, and it's just so cool to see that, again, he's providing value for, you know, real estate investors in the valley and just absolutely killing it. So when it comes down to learning more about wholesaling, if you guys want to look more into it, the only person that I personally know that is an absolute beast with wholesaling and that has one of the top education programs for wholesaling, it's up to you guys. You guys know that I think that you can learn everything online, but there is no question that through a course or with a mentor, it really expedites that whole learning experience and process. And if you're someone that's willing to invest into that, I'm going to be putting that first link down below. That's going to be to Clever Investor. Clever Investor is a good friend of mine here in the Arizona area, one of the top wholesaling teachers in the entire country. And again, it might be something to learn a little bit more about. And if you're interested, feel free to watch a couple of his videos on YouTube. If you like the way that he breaks things down, then again, click that first link down below, learn a little bit more about his Clever Investor group and to see if his team is a good fit for you. I really do appreciate you guys' time. Feel free to drop any comments down in the comment section. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.